see my first screen all
I,
right?
I can see your first slide, yeah.
Excellent. Good. Well, look, Chris, thanks ever so much for having me along tonight. I love doing these sorts of presentations, so always very grateful to be invited along. And hi to everyone else. Just before we get started, obviously my name is Sam Norris. I am one of the senior brokers at Bond Finance. I think I'm only known as senior just because I've been doing it so blooming long. So there's three of us in the office that get that ranking. We don't get any sort of special uniforms or anything, unfortunately, but just a nice signature at the bottom of our emails. But if anyone wants to take a photo at any point during this and share it on social media, I know it's become a thing to do that sort of stuff on your stories on Instagram. My Instagram handle, Sam Norris, is up at the top there, so feel free to do that, and I'll definitely share it for you. So there you go. So the way in which I wanted to do this is a little bit different to how I would normally do my presentations, because I feel as though people are getting a little bit bored of hearing updates. So what I'm going to do is sort of rattle off quickly some bits and pieces that have been going on that I think are very of interest over the last couple of weeks or so. And then I'm actually specifically going to have a bit of time at the end to answer any finance related questions that anyone's got. So I'm going to go through this as quickly as I can to give everyone as much of an opportunity to really put me on the spot and test how well I speak mortgage. First and foremost, what I try and do is keep things as positive as possible. In recent news, we have seen for the most time that we've seen this in recent times over the last couple of days, rates are starting to go down with lenders, which is really, really good. Obviously, it's the best news that we can hope for. Two notable lenders, both on the residential and on the buy-to-let side, are Birmingham Midshires, BM Solutions, and Halifax. They're actually owned by the same company, so it's no surprise that they're both reducing rates at the same time. But they're not alone. There have been some others that have been reducing rates recently, and so the good news is that I think when you get some of the bigger players, BM are a biggish player in the buy-to-let space, hopefully others then follow suit as well, because they're all really keen to be lending money out. So competition is good, especially in a market like this.
Just a quick question on that. So you say they're reducing rates. I mean, how much? I know you've never just got a fully.
Yeah, I mean, we're only talking a couple of bips. You know, it's not huge reductions by any stretch of the imagination, but anything is good at the moment. You know, I think I'm off the top of my head. I think BM went down by about 0.35 across their entire range. So positive news, and I'm really hoping that continues. We're hearing murmurs. I'm speaking to lenders every day, and they're all trying to find ways of getting money out the door. You know, they really are. So as much as they might be getting some bad press, they're desperately trying. Another thing that I've spoken to a lot of clients about that are worried is if people can't refinance during this period for whatever reason, they're a little bit worried about the fact they're going to be falling onto quite high standard variable rates. And what I've certainly been seeing is that lenders are quite understanding of this. And I've picked up on Kent Reliance because they've come back into the market recently, which is fantastic news. But they've only come in at 60% loan to value. I've got a client that we're trying to refinance away from Kent Reliance at the moment because she needs 75%. But Kent, along with a few others, have actually decided to reduce their standard variable rates over the last couple of weeks. So as much as, you know, Kent's standard variable rate has gone down to, you know, just shy of 6%. It's not exactly mind-blowing, but every little helps in this period of time. And I think this just goes to show lenders are trying to find ways to help their current clients and customers out. And this is certainly something that we're seeing as well, which is really positive. Stress test changes. Now, this is something that hasn't really been talked about very much, but this tends to be for the slightly more complex cases, namely sort of HMOs and things like that. Certainly one notable lender that's done that recently is Shawbrook. They have increased all of the stress testing on their HMOs. And it's quite bad actually, not wanting to be the spreader of bad news, but we're going from 160% in most cases up to 170 to 190% on certain products. So I'm hoping this is something that other lenders don't follow, but we are seeing that other lenders have certainly made their stress tests just a little bit more tricky, little bit less flexible. So I think that the key note on this is it's not necessarily great news, but what it does mean is you need to do your research when you're looking to refinance to make sure that what the lenders that you have been using when you've thought that the stress tests were going to be easy for you, they might not be anymore. So double check on those just to make absolutely sure that it's still going to work.
Well, sorry, Sam, what would the normal stress test be for HMO? Remind me what that be.
Shawbrook tend to use 160 at either pay rate or the stress test rate of maybe 5.5%. They've gone up to 190 on some of their products now. Which, I mean, to be honest, on HMO, because the cash flowing on them and the yields are so good, usually it doesn't make too much of a difference. But I just wanted to highlight this point, just instead of going through loads and loads of different stress tests, just to sort of remind people to double check those figures before putting applications in. Now, we had some great news this week on the bridging front. Roma came back.
Quick question for you, Sam. Sorry, this is Ellie. Sorry, I just wanted to check. The HMOs, though, normally, sometimes, I tried to get into that market before, and there were some questions that I had, and some lenders valued them at just brick and mortar basis, and the others were valuing them at as a business or something else.
Yeah.
So that 190% that you were saying, is that based on the brick and mortar?
It's based on the rental income. I'll come back if it's okay with you, Zelly. I'll come back to do some questions at the end because I've dedicated some time. Sure. No, it's fine. Just means I just need I need to keep on it, keep my momentum going. I'll lose where I am. That's all. But I'll definitely come back to your question. You'll be first in line. So yeah, as I was saying, in terms of bridging, we had some really good news this week, which was the return of Roma. Roma gets some mixed press, but I was talking to Scott Marshall, who's the MD this morning, actually interviewed him for the podcast, Chris, so that'll be out next week. And Scott's someone I've known for a long time and know very, very well indeed. And the pain that he expressed at having to pull out of the market, a couple of weeks ago or a few weeks ago, was very, very evident. And so having a player like Roma back in the market, having gone away, reassessed things and come back at a time when they feel they can really service their clients and customers much, much better, and us brokers, to be quite honest with you, is really, really positive. Roma, for me, are one of what I would call my trusted lenders. They've not, touch wood, let me down yet on a single deal. They've never once backed out when they've said that they would lend. And for me, when it comes to bridging, that's worth more than anything else. Loan to values, rates, anything. We need lenders that say they're going to lend when they're going to lend, and Roma are one of them. So really positive news that one lender that had to leave the market has now returned. So I think that's positive news, and that they may well be followed by a couple of other players as well, which would be great. Right, so a bit of negative news really now, which is pipeline cases, both on the bridging side and on the mortgage side. One of the biggest issues that I've faced as a broker so far in lockdown is desperately, with all my admin team being furloughed, by the way, desperately trying to keep up to date with all of my cases that are currently in pipeline. So a post-application, that the application's in and they're at some stage through that process, but they haven't quite completed and drawn down yet. Lots of lenders are taking very, very differing views on how they're managing their pipelines. Some are stopping pipelines completely. Some are only progressing on cases that are, say, of a lower loan to value. Together, for example, are only progressing cases that are less than 50% loan to value at the moment. I am trying desperately to get a few of mine with Together through at 65. And I think I might have won that battle today, which is makes me feel very good going into the long weekend. But on the whole, we're seeing that really across the board, it's all over the place. So if you've got anything that's currently post-application but hasn't drawn down yet, I mean, I would like to think, there's a lot of very savvy people in this group. So I'm sure you're all in touch regularly with either your broker or the lender direct, whichever route you're going. But keep that dialogue going, because things are changing daily. And where 1 week we've got lenders that are saying, yes, we're going to progress things, suddenly they're not. Or they're changing products. We had Foundation do that earlier on in the week, where they came, where I had a call from them saying that all the clients that we currently had in a pipeline with them they were going to have to go onto new products that they were releasing next week, and the products aren't as good. So we need to be keeping on top of things like that. Desktop valuations, big sort of thing over the course of this lockdown is desktop valuations. One I think misconception that people are getting is what a desktop valuation actually is. It's not an automated valuation. A desktop valuation still involves a physical surveyor doing absolutely everything they would normally do, bar visiting the property. They'll still be doing all of their online research with all the tools that they have available. And the great thing about that as an alternative to an automated valuation is that we have power to influence their decision, or at least push them in a certain direction and make sure that they do have all of the correct information at their disposal. For a few years now, I've been getting all of my clients to put valuation packs together, with a bit of an overview of the project. This is mainly on remortgages where they've added value to the properties, with details of the works, before and after photos, schedule of works from builders, and of course, some analysis of the market with some recent comparable sales that justify the value that we're trying to go for. Now, with desktop valuations, that kind of information is absolutely invaluable to surveyors. And anyone that tells you that surveyors hate receiving this kind of information because they feel as though they're being told how to do their job, 9 times out of 10, that really isn't the case. They're very grateful for additional information being sent to them. They're basically getting paid to do not as much work as they would normally have to. So from their point of view, it's really, really helpful. So I do have a copy of a really good sort of remortgage valuation pack that one of my clients has kindly said that they're happy for me to send out. So if anyone does want to see a copy of that, maybe I'll drop my email address in the comments in the chat after I've finished. And if you want to send me an email just requesting that, I'll send you over a copy and you can have a look and see what that looks like. So really important that. So that's kind of it. That's sort of the brief overview. As Chris said, I am going hell for leather on the podcast at the moment, interviewing people across the market, not just in terms of lenders, but I've got architects, I've got solicitors, I've got property developers and investors, and people in business as well on 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So do be sure to tune in. But yeah, I just wanted to open up the floor really and ask for any questions that you might have that maybe you feel haven't been answered yet. And I'll try not to use horrible mortgage jargon as best as I possibly can. But if we wanted to kick off with Zelly, because you had a question earlier on.
Sorry, yeah, it was just the 190 when you said, I don't know how that is compared against which value and, against the rent. I agree, but doesn't that include the actual, how much the actual property is valued in order to work out that percentage?
Yeah, so it's more to do with whether or not the loan that that you want can be backed up by the rental income. So it's not to do with the value of the property, it's to do with how much you can borrow. So with HMOs, dependent on the classification and the style and the size of the HMO, sometimes we would look at a bricks and mortar valuation, sometimes we would look at a more commercial yield-based valuation. Very much depends on the area as to which is going to work out best and what the purpose of that valuation is for. But the rental stress tests are just there to make sure that the lender is comfortable with the loan amount rather than the value of the property. Does that make sense, Illy?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I now can get it. I was thinking, yeah.
Fantastic. Any other questions that anyone might have?
Hi, Sam.
Hello, is that Lewis?
Yeah, can you hear me okay? I
can hear you absolutely fine, mate, yeah.
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much for doing this update tonight. It's really kind of you.
No problem at all.
Yeah. So I've got a purchase going through at the moment. Mm-hmm. I've had a mortgage offer with Birmingham Midshire already offered, sent them with solicitors. Where do I stand in terms of, can I get another offer now the rates have dropped? Am I stuck with that offer, or can I go and...
No, not necessarily. And this happens all the time, even outside of lockdown. Effectively, until you draw down, if something changes, then you can certainly ask the question. It doesn't always work out. It depends where you are. And there are certain lenders that are more open to it than others. I tried to do it with Paragon towards the back end of last year, and they said no, which was a bit frustrating. But yeah, with someone like BM, they're usually pretty flexible. So you would need potentially, this might be the only warning that I would give you, is that they might ask you to go back to underwriting, which with how things are standing at the moment, that might not be the best course of action. What I would do is check on what rates you'd be eligible for given the purchase that you're making, and just see whether you think it's going to actually be worthwhile. Are you using a broker, or are you going direct to them?
I'm going for a broker.
Yeah, so give them a call, and just ask them, because BM's rates have come down, and just say, look, could we possibly look into that, and do you recommend it? And it might be just a case that broker will put a call into their contact. Most of the BDMs, business development managers, which we are sort of the first port of call for us, a lot of the lenders have furloughed them, unfortunately, at the moment. So, but you'll definitely be able to get, or they'll definitely be able to get through to somebody, and they can give them a bit of an idea as to whether they think it's going to be worthwhile or not. Because I am sort of saying to people at the moment, if you're at a stage where you can complete, then try not to, I don't know, just keep the ship steady, shall we say, rather than sort of maybe causing too many issues. But worth a call. I think brokers should definitely put in a call and ask about that, because rate reduction's a rate reduction at the end of the day.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Sam. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
no problem at all.
Sam, I've just got a quick question on the Roma bridging lenders you mentioned.
Yeah, no worries, Andy.
Just what kind of rates are they putting bridging out at, and has that changed based on the corona lockdown scenario?
Yeah, so as I said, I was talking to Scott earlier on today, and he said, they've never, although they definitely have term sheets. There's only really one bridging lender out there that doesn't have a term sheet, and that's Octane. But I'm certain they've got one hiding somewhere that we just don't see. But Roma have always been in that kind of between about 0.8 and 0.11 kind of range, and I don't expect them to shift too much from that, because in reality, that's relatively high up the scale compared to what some lenders can do. I personally think that coming out of this, I think the days of the 0.49% are going to go, because it's been ludicrous that it's been that cheap, to be quite honest with you, because it wasn't that long ago that 1% a month was standard. So to cut it in half in such a short period of time, I'm certain lenders are losing money on those sorts of deals. So actually, I think if you can get a bridge away at 0.8 at the moment, I think you're doing pretty well. The good thing about Roma is they'll do the smaller deals. This is where it's always helped me, because I don't have a minimum loan size. I'm not one of those brokers that will turn around to you and say, you're not good enough for me because you don't want to borrow more than 200 grand. My smallest loan I did last year was 28 grand, and Roma would have done that. They didn't. I actually put that through someone else, but so they're good for the smaller deals, which are really, really helpful, and the service is smooth. They've purposefully come back into the market. They will go up to 75% loan to value gross, but it will be deal dependent. And if they don't think that the deal merits it, then they won't carry it up to 75. I would probably, I'd put my, I don't know what the term is, sword in the sand or something, and say probably around 65%, 70% gross. And at around 0.9% is probably what they're going to go for most deals.
Brilliant. That's really good. Thanks, Sam. So I do say I've proved. I think I do listen to your podcast, and it's very good and worth a listen. So
I'll have to get you on at some point, Chris.
We're happy to. Yeah, happy to.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that, Sam. Thank you very much.
No worries at all.
Okay, what I'd like to do now is to move over to Andy for Andy's presentation, please. So, Sam, if you can just release the presentation, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think I've done that. Is it coming up? Is it showing?
Yeah. You're not sharing.
Cool.